Erika is, as you're going to see, exceedingly uncomfortable discussing Charlie's final day.
People are noticing that Erika Kirk might have removed the wedding photo that was on Charlie Kirk's bookshelf. Also looks like she replaced it with some sort of scroll, and also noticed that she isn't wearing her wedding ring.
And he loved having Sunday as his planning day. I'm actually sitting in his office. This is his home office, and I have not been in here for a very long time, and that's part of the reason why I keep looking down. It's not because I'm not wanting to look at you, it's because like there are so many treasures in here.
Candace Owens is claiming that some of Charlie Kirk's most important digital history didn't just disappear by accident. According to her, it was taken down on purpose, and not by tech executives in Silicon Valley, but by the person now leading his organization, his widow, Erika Kirk. If that claim carries any truth at all, it changes how many people are looking at everything that has happened since Charlie's tragic passing. Before anyone rushes to assign motives, the timing is what immediately stands out. Less than 6 weeks after Charlie Kirk was violently attacked and later passed away, supporters began noticing something strange. Large sections of the Charlie Kirk Show archive were suddenly missing from Spotify, then Apple Podcasts, then YouTube. This wasn't a minor glitch or a few misplaced uploads. Entire blocks of content were gone. Not hidden, not buried, just removed. That led to one unavoidable question. Why would TPUSA quietly wipe out so much of its founders' digital footprint? At first, some people assumed it might be routine restructuring. Maybe licensing updates, maybe a platform change. But others began wondering if something deeper was happening behind the scenes. We're talking about thousands of episodes, years of recordings, millions of views, all taken down in what looked like a coordinated sweep.
She needs to be questioned. Erika needs to be questioned. My dog Blue leaving his paw print, and this picture seems pretty obvious.
Erika Kirk's lived like 10 million lives, so it's hard to just trust whatever she's saying. But something that's really interesting is this. In the background, you can see Charlie Kirk's wedding photo with Erika in the top left. Then it was replaced with the Talmud. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Erika Kirk said she wasn't in her room this entire time, but yet it was replaced.
And throughout Erika's press tour, all we hear her saying is, my Charlie, my husband. And all her stories, it sounds like they were so in love. So why was she not on his priority list?
The scale alone made supporters pause. Candace Owens addressed the issue publicly and made a statement that immediately caught attention. She said that one of Erika Kirk's first major decisions as the new CEO was to order the removal of all Charlie Kirk Show episodes from major platforms. That claim escalated the conversation overnight and transformed what might have stayed an internal matter into a national debate. Then Candace added another layer that intensified things even more. When supporters emailed Turning Point USA asking why the episodes had disappeared, a staffer named Blake Neff reportedly responded. According to Candace's account, he suggested that the removals were simply a product of how platforms handle shows with a high number of episodes, implying that Spotify, Apple, and YouTube independently decided there was too much archived content. That explanation didn't sit well with many observers. Major platforms don't usually erase massive archives without contractual shifts, ownership changes, or direct requests from rights holders, and it's even more unusual for multiple companies to make the same move at the same time. The synchronized timing caused people to question whether this was truly a technical issue or something else entirely. The focus quickly moved from what happened to who benefits. After a public figure passes away, control over their voice, brand, and recorded material.
But there's just so many things of this story that just doesn't make sense. My theory is that they were having marriage issues. They were gonna get divorced. Charlie is Erika's second husband. She probably doesn't want two divorces because from what it seems like, she likes titles.
Becomes incredibly significant. Whoever manages that archive shapes how history is remembered. Naturally, people began asking who now holds that authority and what decisions are being made behind closed doors. Some supporters started examining details closely. One person noticed that certain specific clips were still available while thousands of others were gone. They questioned whether keeping up a particular episode about international tensions was intentional. Another commenter pointed out that shortly after Charlie's passing, Andrew Vett had reportedly assured supporters that all of Charlie's past episodes and clips would remain accessible indefinitely. Now critics are comparing that earlier assurance to the current reality, and they say the two don't match. This is where Erika Kirk becomes central to the discussion in a more complex way. After Charlie's passing, she didn't just appear publicly as a grieving spouse, she also stepped into the role of CEO of Turning Point USA. That shift placed her at the head of an organization reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars. Observers began noticing subtle but symbolic changes. For instance, some pointed out that a photo that once sat prominently behind Charlie's office desk was no longer visible. On its own, that detail might mean nothing. But combined with online chatter suggesting their marriage may have faced challenges before his passing, it added to the speculation. In major organizations, image and messaging matter.
On June 19th, Erika purged her Instagram of a lot of pictures, 126 posts she deleted. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off of your Instagram?
Erika's role now carries emotional weight and executive authority at the same time. Leading a national nonprofit during such a sudden and traumatic moment invites intense scrutiny. Supporters view her stepping forward as strength during crisis. Critics question how quickly leadership consolidated around her. What's clear is that Erika didn't simply inherit memories. She stepped into control of a large and influential network at a moment of enormous public attention. Whether the content removals were strategic, contractual, temporary, or something else, the decisions are now tied directly to her leadership. That reality has made every action, every statement, and every silence part of a much larger narrative. Turning Point USA represents more than a name. It includes donor networks, media branches, conferences, student chapters, influencer partnerships, and branding infrastructure. It represents reach and leverage. When leadership shifted, Erika didn't just inherit a legacy. She assumed control over how that legacy is preserved and presented. That is a powerful position for anyone. One online commenter described Erika in a way that sparked further debate. They argued she doesn't fit the stereotype of someone content to remain in the background. Instead, they portrayed her as comfortable at the center of decision-making, someone who navigates television.
I was looking at Erika Kirk's TikTok account, and the first post on there is from March of 2025. Was that when she opened her TikTok account, or did she have stuff before that and she deleted it?
Nonprofit leadership, branding, and high-visibility political environments with ease. In that framing, she isn't a supporting character. She's a strategist. That same perspective suggested that as Charlie's influence expanded, new opportunities opened. But tension can follow growth. According to critics, there were moments when Charlie reportedly chose principle over rapid expansion, passing on certain deals, declining tactics that might have increased exposure but conflicted with his standards. If that's accurate, it raises questions about whether everyone around him shared the same long-term vision. From that angle, some observers speculate that internal disagreements may have surfaced as the organization evolved. When a public figure chooses caution instead of aggressive scaling, it can reshape expectations overnight. For someone focused on global expansion, that shift could feel restrictive. Now, critics argue that some of Charlie's earlier, unfiltered content might not align perfectly with the direction Turning Point appears to be taking today. That creates a difficult question. Was the archive becoming complicated for a new strategic phase? It's not a conclusion, but it's a question that keeps resurfacing online. Adding to the intensity is the fact that Erika has not publicly addressed Candace's specific claim about ordering the episode removals.
Kirk was Charlie Kirk's handler, probably installed by Israel. I'm not sure, but probably it makes sense. All these Egyptian jets were following her around. I think it was 71 locations that these Egyptian jets were in the same places as Erika Kirk over the last 5 years.
In high-profile leadership roles, silence often carries its own weight. Supporters say she isn't obligated to respond to every public accusation. Detractors argue that the lack of direct clarification fuels more suspicion. At this point, what began as missing podcast episodes has grown into a broader conversation about legacy, leadership, and control. The digital footprint of a public figure shapes how history remembers them. And right now, many supporters are asking whether that footprint is being preserved exactly as it was, or carefully curated for what comes next. Candace also introduced another loaded term into the conversation. She suggested that Erika may be protecting handlers. That word immediately raised eyebrows. It suggests unseen advisors, strategists, or powerful figures operating quietly behind the curtain. The implication wasn't just about missing episodes. It pointed toward bigger questions about who truly shapes major decisions inside the organization. Supporters of Turning Point USA say there could be a much simpler explanation. They point to Salem Media Group, which previously distributed Charlie's show, and argue that licensing shifts or contract adjustments might explain the sudden disappearance of the archive. In media, rights agreements can change quickly.
It's about who actually runs the show now.
A lot of people were saying that she was Bro's handler, allegedly, and he knew something. She was there to watch him, and she knew something, and she had to pull the plug.
Especially after leadership transitions, when ownership structures evolve, distribution deals often follow. But critics push back with one central issue. If this were strictly contractual, why not clarify it publicly? Licensing disputes usually come with statements. Platform removals often include notices. Instead, the episodes seem to vanish quietly and all at once. That coordinated silence is what keeps the speculation alive. Right now, no explanation has satisfied everyone watching. What's clear is that this isn't happening in a vacuum. Leadership changed, content disappeared, allegations surfaced, silence followed. In an organization built on messaging and influence, every move carries meaning. And this is where the issue stops being about missing podcast files and becomes something much bigger. When years of someone's words disappear shortly after they're gone, people don't just move on. They start asking what those words contained. They rewatch archived clips. They compare old messaging to current direction. They look at timelines and ask what no longer fits. Charlie built his reputation on being direct. Sometimes polished, sometimes unfiltered, but always clearly himself. That authenticity built loyalty. It also created a massive digital footprint, thousands of hours of commentary, positions that evolved, opinions that changed over time, moments that might not align perfectly with a carefully managed, future-focused strategy. If you're leading that organization now, you face a difficult choice. Preserve every word exactly as it was, even if parts complicate the current narrative, or streamline the archive so the brand appears unified and tightly controlled. Some executives would call that standard reputation management. Critics see it as reshaping history. That tension is driving the controversy. Supporters of Erika argue that stepping into leadership during a crisis requires hard decisions. When a founder passes suddenly, organizations often reassess everything. Distribution contracts, partnerships, messaging direction, branding structure. Restructuring isn't unusual in the nonprofit or media world. It can be necessary for stability. But critics aren't focused on technicalities. They're focused on symbolism. Charlie wasn't just an executive. He was the face, the voice, the emotional center of the movement. Removing his archive feels, to some supporters, like removing the heartbeat. It doesn't feel procedural. It feels personal. And again, the timing stands out. Less than 6 weeks. That detail keeps resurfacing in discussions. During periods of loss, organizations typically spotlight legacy. They highlight milestone speeches.
She doesn't want to address it. I've looked everywhere. I would like to know more about Charlie's last day. I can obviously put together what Frank said. I can put together what his schedule was. But that's not a question that she's comfortable answering. And by the way, that dear friend she's referencing, of course, we now know is a priest that came over to pray over Charlie and Erika's marriage.
They republish classic interviews. They amplify the founder's most defining moments. That's the expected approach. Instead, fans say they saw the digital footprint shrink. That reversal sparked concern. At the same time, internal strategy conversations are being discussed more openly online. There have been rumors about disagreements over expansion pace, questions about balancing ideology with business growth, debates about staying grassroots-driven versus evolving into a larger, more corporate-style operation with tighter brand discipline. If those discussions existed, even privately, control over historical content becomes highly significant. Older episodes may reflect a looser, more independent era, a tone that wasn't filtered through a larger executive structure. Positions that may not perfectly align with the organization's next chapter. That doesn't automatically imply wrongdoing, but it explains why people are connecting dots. Optics also matter. Erika is no longer viewed solely as a private individual processing loss. She is the CEO of a multi-million-dollar organization with national influence. Every move now has strategic implications. Silence becomes noticeable. Content removal becomes noticeable. Even subtle shifts in social media tone or presentation get dissected. Then there's Candace. She isn't just another online voice reacting from the outside. She has history within the broader ecosystem. She understands the internal structure. So when she raises concerns publicly, it doesn't register as random speculation. It feels like internal tension surfacing in real time. The introduction of the word handlers intensified that perception. It suggests influence beyond what's visible. It hints at advisory circles shaping direction behind closed doors. Whether that term accurately reflects reality or not, it changed the tone of the discussion overnight. Now the conversation isn't just about missing audio files. It's about control, influence, and legacy. It's about who determines how a founder's voice is preserved. It's about whether streamlining content is strategic housekeeping or something more deliberate. And until there's a clear explanation that addresses the timing, the coordination, and the leadership decisions all at once, the questions are likely to continue. That's exactly why the handler's comment hit so hard. The idea that unseen advisors might be steering the direction of a major political organization taps into a fear many people already have, that the real influence often sits behind closed doors. Whether that's happening here or not, the term alone was enough to turn up the scrutiny fast. At the same time, defenders continue pointing to more ordinary explanations. Licensing transitions, back-end platform updates, distribution renegotiations, media. Archives sometimes disappear temporarily when rights change hands. It's not dramatic, it's administrative. It happens more often than people realize. But here's the issue with administrative explanations during an emotionally charged moment. They rarely calm anyone down. Because this isn't just about contracts or back-end systems. It's about legacy. It's about memory. It's about who decides which version of a public figure remains visible online. When someone influential passes away suddenly after a violent incident, their recorded voice takes on new meaning. Supporters replay old episodes to reconnect with ideas. Movements lean on past speeches to maintain continuity. If that archive suddenly shrinks, even temporarily, it feels like a disruption. It feels like a break in the story. And now speculation is feeding itself. Some people believe this is routine restructuring that's being exaggerated. Others think it's a strategic repositioning for the next chapter. A smaller but very vocal group believes it points to deeper internal conflict that hasn't fully surfaced yet. What makes this more layered is that Turning Point USA isn't just a podcast feed. It's a national political force. Campus chapters across the country, major conferences, high-profile donors, media production teams, partnerships that extend far beyond one show. Directional shifts at that scale don't happen casually. They're planned, they're measured, they're intentional. So the biggest question floating over everything isn't just why episodes were removed, it's where the organization is heading next. Is this a tightening of messaging, a modernization push, a move toward broader coalitions, or simply administrative cleanup during a leadership transition? Right now, there isn't a single public explanation that connects all the dots. That absence leaves space for competing narratives to grow. And in political spaces, perception often carries as much weight as facts. What can't be denied is that control has shifted. The archive changed, allegations were raised, and many supporters feel like they're only seeing part of the picture. Whether this turns out to be routine restructuring or something more strategic, the silence left by thousands of missing episodes has already changed the conversation. Since Erika stepped into leadership, some people inside conservative media circles say the atmosphere feels different. Not dramatically, not explosively, just different. Conversations about tighter messaging, guest lists that feel more selective. Certain names that once appeared frequently now absent from major events. None of this has been announced in a public memo. But in political environments, subtle shifts rarely go unnoticed. Candace has had disagreements with Turning Point leadership before, so when she speaks, it doesn't sound like random commentary. There's history there. Context matters. And before Charlie's passing, some observers noted that he appeared open to broadening the range of voices around him. He seemed willing to platform individuals others considered controversial. That suggested confidence. It suggested he wasn't afraid of friction. After his violent attack and passing, however, observers say that openness appears narrower. Invitations seem more curated, messaging looks more streamlined, public appearances feel more tightly managed. None of that automatically signals wrongdoing. Organizations often prioritize stability after tragedy. Structure becomes essential. But when that tightening happens alongside the removal of a massive digital archive, people naturally start connecting dots. Critics frame it clearly. If older content complicates future direction, limiting its visibility becomes the simplest solution. In their view, it's strategic brand alignment. Supporters reject that interpretation completely. They argue Erika stepped into enormous responsibility during emotional chaos. They say recalibrating messaging is about sustainability, not rewriting anything. There's another detail that complicates the narrative. Charlie's content hasn't vanished entirely. Supporters have confirmed that many episodes remain available on platforms like Rumble and on Turning Point's own website. That matters. It shows the archive wasn't erased from existence. But critics respond with a different argument. Distribution equals visibility. visibility equals influence. If content becomes harder to find on mainstream platforms, it changes how easily new audiences discover it. That alone shapes perception. So the debate evolves. It's no longer simply about whether the content exists, it's about who controls how accessible it is. And that's where power becomes central. Turning Point USA operates as a nationwide network with student chapters, donor pipelines, production teams, major conferences, and deep political relationships. When leadership changes at that level, evolution is inevitable. The question is, how much change supporters are comfortable with before it feels like transformation? Some inside the broader movement are quietly asking whether this remains Charlie's organization in spirit, or whether it's becoming Erika's organization in tone and structure. That's not automatically negative. Every successor leaves a mark. Leadership always reshapes direction. But when the founder's voice fades from major platforms while new messaging solidifies, comparisons become unavoidable. Then there's the internal dynamics conversation. Candace hinted that certain voices may be losing proximity while others gain influence. Nothing official has confirmed that, but perception spreads quickly when patterns are noticed. If longtime allies seem more distant and newer figures appear elevated, observers interpret that as intentional strategy. In the end, this controversy isn't just about podcast episodes. It's about authority, influence, and narrative control during a sensitive transition. It's about whether restructuring feels transparent or opaque. And until there's clearer communication tying everything together, the questions are unlikely to fade anytime soon. In large political organizations, power rarely shifts with fireworks or dramatic speeches. There isn't usually a loud announcement saying everything is changing. Instead, it happens quietly. A guest list looks different. A conference theme subtly shifts. A media partnership expands. A familiar voice shows up less. A new advisor appears more often. Piece by piece, the direction moves. Supporters of Erika argue that this is simply how leadership consolidation works. When a founder passes suddenly after a violent incident, the successor has to steady the structure. That means aligning messaging, tightening communication, and making sure the organization speaks clearly and consistently. From that viewpoint, what critics label as control is really coordination and stabilization during a sensitive transition. But critics push back with a sharper question. If coordination requires reducing visibility of the founder's unfiltered archive, then what exactly is being reshaped? They don't see it as routine housekeeping. They see it as strategic positioning for a new era that may not perfectly mirror the old one. And that possibility keeps the debate alive. The timing continues to amplify everything. Less than 6 weeks after Charlie was violently attacked and passed away, the contraction of the archive began. In moments of loss, institutions typically lean into legacy. They replay defining speeches. They spotlight pivotal interviews. They preserve every available word. Here, many supporters felt the opposite unfolding. That emotional contrast transformed what could have been a technical adjustment into something deeply symbolic. Inside conservative media spaces, there's a quiet recalibration that people say they can feel. Some personalities appear more aligned with the emerging tone. Others seem more distant. Whether that shift is coincidence, personal choice, or executive direction hasn't been formally explained, but perception alone is enough to fuel conversation. And this discussion is no longer limited to past episodes. It's about the future trajectory. Will Turning Point USA continue moving toward a tightly managed, highly structured approach? Or will it eventually widen the circle again and bring back the broader range of voices Charlie once welcomed? That's the tension sitting beneath every headline. Leadership transitions are defining moments. They expose priorities, they clarify what matters most: expansion, message discipline, growth, or preservation of original identity. Observers are watching closely to see which of those pillars Erika emphasizes as she settles fully into authority. There's also a reputational layer that can't be ignored. Erika didn't just inherit a title, she stepped into the CEO role of a multi-million-dollar organization under intense national scrutiny. That kind of pressure is relentless. Every decision is magnified. Every silence is analyzed. Every rumor has the potential to snowball into something much larger. Supporters argue she deserves room to lead without constant suspicion hanging over every move. Critics argue that transparency is the only way to calm speculation before it spirals further. Both perspectives carry weight. And that's what makes this moment so complex. What's undeniable is that something shifted. Whether it's routine evolution or the first visible sign of deeper internal realignment depends on where you stand. But the conversation isn't fading. When legacy, politics, influence, and digital history collide, people pay attention. The stakes are simply too high to ignore. So now the bigger question hangs in the air. What comes next? Will the full archive quietly return to major platforms? Will leadership directly address the controversy and close the loop? Or will the organization continue forward without engaging the debate, allowing time to soften the intensity? Each path sends a different signal about direction and confidence. This moment feels like a crossroads, not necessarily a scandal, not necessarily instability, but a pivot point. And pivot points reveal character. They show who truly holds authority, who shapes the path forward, and who ultimately decides what remains visible in public memory. Now, I want to hear your take. Do you see this as standard restructuring after a leadership transition, or does it feel like the start of a larger internal shift? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next update, and share this with someone following the story. Your perspective matters in conversations like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.